Year 8 maths again. Well, you're probably wondering, what's all this got to do with prime numbers and prime factors and things, all this business about lowest common denominators and so on. Let's have a look at looking for the problem for lowest common denominator, we've done this one before, of 12 and 15. And let me make sure that you can see all that. That's in the viewfinder, yes. Lowest common denominator of 12 and 15. Well, let's look at the prime factors of 12. 12 is, well, it's 4 times 3. 4 is 2 times 2. That's 2 squared times 3. And the prime factors of 15, well, it isn't divisible by 2, so we don't put anything there, that's just nothing. It is 3 times 5. I'll just put 1 in there because it's 1 times 3 times 5, isn't it? And if we look at that, what we do to find the lowest common multiple, or the lowest common denominator of 12 and 15, is we take the greatest number of factors of 2, which is 2 squared, times the greatest number of factors of 3. Well, there's a 3 there and a 3 there, so it's just the same, so it's just 3. We don't have to add them up, just choose the biggest one of those. Well, they're the same, so it's just that. And the biggest one of these is a 5 and a, well, there's nothing over there, so it's a 5. And that means the lowest common multiple of 12 and 15 is 2 squared times 3 times 5. 2 squared is 4, so it's 4 times 3 times 5. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 5s are 60. That's the lowest common multiple of 12 and 15. Let's do a lowest common multiple of some other numbers. So the lowest common multiple of of 10 and 45. Well, we find the prime factors of 10 and the prime factors of 45. Let's put them together. Well, the prime factors of 10 is 2 times 5. I'm going to leave a gap. You'll see why in a minute. And the prime factors of 45, well, it isn't divisible by 2, but it's divisible by 9, and 9 is 3 times 3, so it's 3 squared times 5. And now what do? We take the biggest one of these, which is 2 and nothing at all down there, so that's 2. The biggest one of these, which is 3 squared and nothing at all up there, so that's 3 squared. And the biggest one of these, well, they're the same, so we can just put 5. And the lowest common multiple of 10 and 45 is 2 times 3 squared times 5. Well, 2 times 5 is 10, 3 squared is 9, 10 times 9 is 90. That's how we find the lowest common multiple. Notice that this is a much more efficient way of doing things. It's a much smaller number than taking 10 and just multiply it by 45. That would give us a common denominator of 450, and that would make our arithmetic rather difficult to do. I'm still rather concerned about video batteries, so I'm concerned about your attention and attention span. So the way of getting the lowest common multiple is to take the prime factors of each of the numbers, look for the biggest one of those factors. In the case of the factors of 2, 2 squared. In the case of factors of 3, well, it's all the same, so it's just 3. And this one is a 5, gives us 60, gives us 90. I'm going to show you a more complicated one, which would be quite difficult to do by guesswork or just by eye, and it has to do with the problem that I set to you earlier about towers of different heights. And what we're looking for is the lowest common multiple, or the lowest common denominator, for 90 and 84. And you'll see that this would be quite difficult to do by any other method, but let's do this with the prime factors method. The prime factors of 90, well, 90 is 9 times 10, 9 is 3 squared, 10 is 2 times 5. So 90 is 2 times 3 squared times 5. Those are the prime factors of 90 because 2 is prime, 3 is prime, it comes twice so we square it, and 5. And then if we do the prime factors of 84, 84 is 12 times 7, 12 is 4, which is 2 squared times 3, and that's times 7. You'll see why I've written it in that way, because now the lowest common multiple is equal to, well, what's biggest, 2 squared or 2? 2 squared. What's biggest, 3 or 3 squared? 3 squared. What's biggest, 5 or nothing at all? Well, 5. 7 or nothing at all is 7. And now we get the lowest common multiple of 90 and 84 is 2 squared, that's the biggest one of these, times 3 squared, the biggest one of those, times 5, which is the biggest of that lot, times 7, which is the biggest of that lot. And now if we work this out, if you do the calculation, you might need a calculator for that, you'll find that the lowest common multiple of 90 and 84 is 1260. Now that's not the same as 90 times 84, which is some much bigger number, 7,000 something or another, but it is the lowest common multiple of 90 and 84, and I've chosen 90 and 84 as rather difficult-ish numbers, and the lowest common multiple is got by this method. You would find it very difficult to guess the lowest common multiple or find it by another method. So I'm going to set you some problems of finding the lowest common multiple of some different numbers, and I'd like you to respond to those using the method of prime factors. So, thank you very much for your kind attention.